In this video, we'll be looking at empirical research into psi phenomena such as telepathy, precognition, and psychokinesis, which suggests that consciousness can operate outside of conventional space-time boundaries. And if consciousness is not bound by space and time, then psychic abilities are not supernatural anomalies. They are natural consequences of a reality where consciousness operates beyond conventional physical constraints. Psi phenomena suggest that awareness can extend beyond local space-time conditions, a hypothesis supported by extensive parapsychological research. The term psi is used in parapsychology as a broad classification for various psychic phenomena. Psi is the 23rd letter of the Greek alphabet and the first letter in the Greek word psyche. The term encompasses abilities such as telepathy, precognition, and psychokinesis, as well as clairvoyance, also known as ESP, remote viewing, or remote perception. While telepathy involves information exchange between minds, clairvoyance differs in that it does not require another person to transmit information. No other mind is involved. Similarly, precognition refers to knowledge of future events, whereas clairvoyance pertains to perceiving events distant in space rather than time. Psychokinesis, on the other hand, refers to the mind's ability to influence physical matter directly. Parapsychology explores phenomena that challenge the materialist worldview, making it a controversial field. Because these findings imply that consciousness operates beyond conventional physical constraints, they are often met with skepticism from materialists who tend to react emotionally rather than with open scientific inquiry. Like anyone confronted with information that contradicts deeply held beliefs, scientists are not immune to cognitive dissonance, the psychological discomfort that arises when new evidence clashes with established worldviews. Rather than engaging with the data, many scientists dismiss psi research outright without reviewing the evidence. Biologist Rupert Sheldrake has observed that critics of psi phenomena rarely familiarize themselves with the relevant research before condemning it. He points out that in no other scientific field do otherwise intelligent individuals feel free to make authoritative claims based on ignorance. No one would confidently dismiss research in physical chemistry, for instance, without understanding the subject, yet when it comes to psychic phenomena, materialist critics often reject the data out of hand while claiming to uphold science and reason. In doing so, they misuse scientific authority and undermine the very rationality they claim to defend. Yet, despite resistance from the scientific establishment, the general public tends to be far more accepting of psi phenomena. Surveys indicate that belief in ESP and related abilities has been steadily increasing over time. For instance, a 2001 poll cited by the National Science Foundation reported that 60% of American adults believed in psychic abilities. Similar Gallup polls confirmed this upward trend. In 2002, a CBS News survey found that 57% of Americans accepted the existence of one or more psychic phenomena, and by 2005, a Gallup poll placed that number at 73%. Anecdotal experiences that defy materialist explanations are widespread, suggesting that psi phenomena are neither rare nor unnatural. Instead of being supernatural occurrences, they are an ordinary part of human experience. Some researchers have proposed that telepathy, for instance, is a continuous process occurring at various levels of reality, including within biological systems. Even within the human body, cells may communicate using mechanisms that parallel what we consider psychic abilities, reinforcing the idea that psi is an inherent aspect of existence. Parapsychology is the only scientific field officially recognized by the American Association for the Advancement of Science that systematically investigates psi phenomena. However, despite decades of research demonstrating significant effects, parapsychology has declined to establish a theoretical framework to explain its findings. Unlike materialist science, which operates within a paradigm that excludes non-physical influences, parapsychology lacks a comprehensive model to interpret its results. Its data therefore tend to remain excluded from mainstream scientific discourse, dismissed as anomalies rather than incorporated into a broader understanding of reality. And yet, Even though parapsychologists do not challenge materialism by proposing a competing paradigm of their own, materialists nevertheless recognize that psi research poses a challenge to their worldview and have therefore sought to discredit both the studies themselves and the scientists conducting them. Ironically, these challenges have led to increasingly rigorous research standards within parapsychology. Over the years, critics have highlighted methodological flaws, prompting parapsychologists to refine their experimental designs. This ongoing cycle of critique and improvement has resulted in parapsychology becoming one of the most methodologically rigorous scientific disciplines. For example, parapsychologists pioneered the use of blind experimental methods to mitigate bias and ensure objectivity. These methods recognize that an experimenter's expectations can influence results, a principle confirmed in various fields, including quantum physics. In a single blind experiment, participants are unaware of key variables such as whether they are receiving a placebo or an active treatment. A double-blind experiment extends this further, ensuring that neither the participants nor the researchers know which group is receiving which condition. Comparative studies on research methodology across scientific disciplines reveal that blind methods are surprisingly underutilized outside of parapsychology. Two independent surveys analyzing published research found that, in the physical sciences, blind methodologies were applied in as little as 0 to 0.5% of studies. In biological sciences, the percentage remained low at under 2.5%. Even in fields like psychology, medicine, and animal behavior, where experimenter biases are well documented, blind methods were used in only a minority of cases, ranging from 2.8% to 36.8%. In contrast, parapsychology exhibited the highest use of blind methodologies, with 79 to 85% of its studies employing these rigorous techniques. This discrepancy highlights an irony within the scientific community. While psi research is often dismissed as lacking credibility, it consistently adheres to stricter experimental controls than any mainstream field. The skepticism surrounding parapsychology, rather than discrediting it, has driven the discipline to uphold higher methodological standards than those applied in any more conventional area of science. One of the most well-known meta-analyses in psi research was conducted in 1989 by Charles Oniton and Diane Ferrari, who analyzed studies on precognition. They focused on force-choice experiments testing for precognition, in which participants were asked to predict which of 5 randomly selected symbols, typically from a set of Zener cards, would be chosen in the future. Since there were 5 options, random chance would suggest a 20% accuracy rate, while a significantly higher percentage would indicate precognitive ability. Oniton and Ferrari reviewed 309 such experiments, conducted by 62 researchers and published in 113 peer-reviewed journals. These studies involved over 50,000 participants and nearly 2 million individual trials. Their combined results showed a small but highly significant deviation from chance, with odds against chance outcomes calculated at 10 million billion to 1, a number so large that it effectively rules out coincidence. Although each individual study may have only shown a slight increase above the expected 20% hit rate, with results often coming in at around 24%, the cumulative effect across 309 experiments resulted in a near impossible probability of these results occurring by random chance alone. The key point in meta-analysis is not the strength of the effect in any single study, but the likelihood that a real effect exists at all. If even one psi phenomenon is real, the materialist assumption that consciousness is confined to physical processes is invalidated. This explains why skeptics so often attempt to dismiss or discredit psi research rather than engage with its findings. Another well-documented psi phenomenon is the sense of being stared at, a commonly reported experience that suggests consciousness may extend beyond the brain. This ability is so natural that professional spies and detectives are trained to avoid staring at their targets for fear of being noticed. Experimental research into this phenomenon has been conducted for nearly a century. In a typical study, participants sit with their backs turned to another person, who is instructed at random intervals to either stare intently at them or look away and think of something else. The participant then reports whether they felt they were being watched. Variations of the experiment include placing the observer in a separate room and using a CCTV camera to project the participant's image onto a screen. If the participants' responses were purely random, their accuracy should hover around 50%. However, a meta-analysis conducted by Dean Radin covering 60 separate studies with a combined total of over 33,000 trials found an overall success rate of 54.5%. While this may seem like a small increase, the statistical odds against chance were calculated at approximately 202 octodecillion to 1. An octodecillion is a 1 followed by 57 zeros. Typed out, it looks like this, an astronomical number that virtually rules out coincidence. Another extensive meta-analysis investigated psychokinesis, or the ability of the mind to influence physical matter. In one well-known experimental design, participants attempt to mentally influence the outcome of dice rolls by focusing on a specific number before the dice are thrown. If their chosen number appears more frequently than expected by chance, this suggests a mind-matter interaction. In 1989, Dean Radin and Diane Ferrari conducted a large-scale meta-analysis of dice PK experiments. They reviewed 73 published studies spanning over 5 decades, involving 52 researchers and more than 2,500 participants. In total, 2.6 million dice rolls were analyzed, including 150,000 rolls in control conditions where no mental influence was attempted. The results showed a small but statistically significant effect, with odds against chance of 10 to the 76th power to 1. That's a 1 followed by 76 zeros. In contrast, the control studies, where no PK attempt was made, aligned perfectly with chance expectations, with odds against chance of 2 to 1. To put 10 to the 76th power into perspective, this number is comparable to the total number of atoms in the observable universe. The deviation from chance expectations is literally astronomical, and such an extreme improbability suggests that mental intention really does influence physical outcomes, even if the effect is small. When no effort is made to mentally affect the outcome of a random event like a dice toss, as was the case in the control experiments, events unfold along default lines, just as do quantum processes when no one is trying to affect the outcome. But when someone does try to influence the outcome, events deviate from the default by significant amounts. Radin later conducted an even broader meta-analysis, reviewing studies across 6 categories of psi research, including telepathy, the sense of being stared at, dice PK, and random number generator PK. When analyzing over 1,000 controlled studies, the cumulative statistical odds against chance reached an incredible 10 to the 104th power to 1, meaning the likelihood that these results were due to random variation is effectively 0. To grasp the enormity of this number, consider that 10 to the 104th power exceeds the estimated number of atoms not just in our universe, but in a billion, trillion other universes as well. Given such overwhelming statistical support, Radin concluded with scientific understatement that there is now strong evidence that some psi phenomena exist. Indeed, they do exist, and the results of these meta-analyses present a direct challenge to materialist assumptions about consciousness. Despite rigorous controls and replication across numerous studies, psi effects consistently appear in ways that cannot be explained by conventional science. But rather than engaging with this data, materialist skeptics often resort to dismissing the entire field without serious investigation, an approach that contradicts the scientific principle of following the evidence wherever it leads. The statistical improbabilities uncovered in psi research suggest that mind and consciousness extend beyond the brain, and even beyond space and time itself. It is clear that the materialist paradigm is seriously incomplete, and a deeper, consciousness-based model of reality is needed to fully understand human experience. Join us next time as we begin to develop that consciousness-based model, beginning with a deeper look at the capabilities of the conscious mind as revealed by psi phenomena like telepathy and remote viewing. Until then, please like and subscribe and share your views in the comments below. Thank you all for watching.